Oh, it's a new year and our first appearance of 2023 with Mike Baker. What's going
Oh,
on? This is a nice wall that we haven't seen yet.
it is a wall. It's a brand new wall. Yeah, up in the mountains right now, and it's snowing. It's snowing a
Oh,
lot right now.
I see.
So
That looks so nice.
yeah, it's super nice.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be some great powder up on the slopes today. So I encourage everyone to get out here. I'm not going to tell you where I am, but just come on out. Um, and
Palm Springs has
happy
got its own kind of powder.
2023. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What did you do for the new year? Did you attend a party? Did you, I don't know, pray to a
Sure.
toilet at the end of the night?
No, no, you know what? I have a tradition. I try to get to bed on New Year's Eve by at least 10:30 in the evening.
Wow.
I don't actually know the last time I rang in midnight on a New Year's Eve, and I think it's because my parents were the same way. And I guess you kind of grow up, and become your parents. But my parents, I remember when I was little, would always say things like, "Yeah, nothing good happens after midnight,"
Mm.
and I think they're right.
I don't know.
Well,
After midnight, I had some really good pizza, so
Well, okay. Besides snacking,
yeah.
nothing good happens after midnight.
yeah, but after about 10 a.m. the next morning, how's Joanne's little tum tum? Was it good? Was that good?
It was actually because then I got McDonald's. You know what? For
Oh,
me, New Year's is really only about, and I'm sure Steve agrees with me, the food choices. It's just an excuse to just get it all in.
I
That
do.
whole
I
week,
agree.
really,
Thank you.
when you think about it, that whole week is, Bill, what the hell are you sitting in?
I know.
what are you
Isn't it
talking about?
fascinating?
I'm
What
just in
is
the
that?
studio. I have no idea what you're
Wow.
talking about.
He is not in studio. He is at Lauren Savon's house in Palm
Oh,
Springs, and
oh, you're still there.
I
You're squatting now. You refuse to leave.
yeah, he's taking care of dogs. Allegedly,
Oh,
I've yet to see one.
oh, wait. Oh no,
Dogs was a
I was about to say,
euphemism.
and there's one on command, but it's just the fluffy thing that
Yeah.
he's sitting on.
No,
I
he's
thought that was
sitting
a
on a
Well,
dog.
dog.
no, that's one of them. But let's just say now she has 2 dogs instead of 3.
Oh God.
Wow. I know you've gone over all
Now,
this
and by the
before.
way, I will
I'm
preface
sure you've gone over this,
Yeah.
but how many dogs does she have?
She has 3, but as usual, when people are leaving, including Lauren, a lot of them will come by and just sort of pawn their dogs off on me rather than, actually paying for someone to take
Mm.
care of them. So our ground, and Lauren was here for a little bit. She has now since left again, but our record during the week was 8. We had a total of 8 dogs.
Oh God.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I'm
it's
sorry to hear that. Was that
yeah. I mean, it's not squatting when you actually have to do that kind of work.
no, absolutely not. Was that the extent of your New Year's Eve then? Hanging out with 8 dogs? Because
Lauren came back for New
who
Year's.
hasn't said that sentence before?
Lauren came back for New Year's. And by the way, I will say to Bobby and Steve, I know it can be a little sketchy sometimes with both a Zoom and a Skype on. If it's getting wonky, you can feel free to cut me off and I'll get back to my dog.
It's terrible. We should just let you
Is
go.
it really bad?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. But no, she came back for New Year's and then left again because, jet setter. And that's when we had the huge amount because people just were bringing. We had six when I was by myself at one point, but that was 8, and it was a lot. And
Wow.
Um,
Is she a jet setter or is she being chased by somebody?
we'll talk off camera. I might
Okay.
have some targets for you.
nice. Now, Baker, you have in 2023 your book coming out.
Yes.
Now,
That is true. The big release of Company Rules on Scribd, the Netflix of books, is 18 January. So it's coming up
nice.
soon. And I will get you guys, it's very exciting, an audio excerpt and what they refer to as a teaser trailer. That's very exciting.
Ooh,
Teaser
I
trailer.
love a good tease.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah. And
being that it's a new year, and as a businessman, do you think it's wise for people, for businesses, to set certain goals for the new year? What sort of goals do you set for your business?
Absolutely not. I hate to be disappointed, and I know myself well enough. I avoid the whole goal thing. No, you know what you have to do is you have to, for business anyway, maybe there's the occasional we want to be kinder or whatever, but in business, mostly it's just setting what your mission objectives are, right? And it's more than just saying we want to make money this year, right? You've got to have some defined objectives. You explain them clearly to everybody who's within the company, and then you get out of the way, right? And if you're lucky enough to have hired people who are smarter than you, then that system works. If you hire a bunch of gormless dolts, then it's going to go sideways quickly. But you have to be brave enough to hire people who are more clever than you are. And I don't mean you.
Nice.
I mean me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a high
Well,
bar for clever.
I'm going to listen to this thing, and this is the times we live in. Listen to this thing cover because I really need to make some changes for 2023. The same old bill has not been working out for me for quite some time. So I'm hoping there's some actual valuable advice in this thing, and you didn't half-ass it, because I'm going to be actually paying attention.
No. Unlike usual, I did not half-ass this. This was full ass.
Yes.
And I really went whole ass on this. Yeah. So it's good. It's okay. This is not like the most insightful business book anyone's ever going to pick up. I mean, the head of Citibank's not going to pick this up and go on TV and recommend you all must read Mike Baker's business book. But I think it's an entertaining listen. And basically what I did was I said, look, what were the things I took away from the agency? So when I talk about company rules, I'm not talking about hard and fast rules that they teach you. They sit you down and say, here are the company rules. No, what I'm talking about are the ideas that I took away from it that I then used to build a business when I went into private life. So this has nothing to do with, at the end of the day, with my experiences in the agency. It has everything to do with, okay, I took away some ideas, some principles, what I call company rules, and I utilized those, sometimes without even knowing it, to build a business and to keep that business breathing and with a pulse. So that's what it's all about. So, what the hell? I
hate to give you credit, but it's a really good idea. And that angle certainly hasn't been done before. But even though it's more a focus on business rather than the tactics of your former profession, let me ask you this: did the boys in Langley make any edits?
No, because it's not a book about my agency. I just wrote it and handed it over. I don't. If I wrote a book about my agency time, then that's different. Then you have to go to like a review board, and you have to give it to them because you're talking about your time in the agency. You're talking about experiences, about activities. Maybe you're referencing people. I don't do any of that crap because I don't feel like there's a need for me to tell that story. Right? Other people had very illustrious careers and they've decided to write books, and that's good for them. But I'm in this new challenge. I've been in it for a while with business. I'd rather talk about that. And again, the only tie-in is, I came away with some ideas, things that you do. How do you make decisions on the fly? How do you make decisions with imperfect information, right? Don't wait until you have all the data that you want to have, because at that point, something's going to go wrong. Little things like that.
Oh boy, actually, all right, I got a sec. Speaking of tactics and decisions, good or otherwise, we have a very weird Putin story. I can do it, Joe, unless it's in front of you. But do you have the one with Putin's soldier?
Yes.
Because we also have some video of her as well.
My segue was going to be speaking of a New Year's message. So Vladimir Putin recently released his New Year's message, and in this, there is a female soldier who's in photos with him. This mystery blonde, though, has popped up in other photo ops as well, as an ice cream vendor, an angler. What's an angler?
Fishing. It's a fisher person.
Why don't they say fisherwoman?
We have to say fisher person.
And a Christmas time parishioner. The blonde, who was clad in fatigues and feted with other supposed soldiers in the dictator's holiday broadcast, is a regular fixture at Putin's public appearances. She was identified as Larissa Sergukina at the time. The woman who was also among a group of parishioners around Putin in 2017 at an Eastern Orthodox Christmas service was also referred to as Sergukina at the time. Again, angler, other occasion, 2019, she was selling ice cream to Putin at a Moscow air show. The British tabloid The Sun reported in 2019 Putin overpaid for his ice cream by more than 4,000 rubles, roughly $60, and told the blonde to give the change to the air minister for the development of aviation. That seems weird to have an ice cream.
It wasn't ice cream, it was gelato, so you can understand the price.
Yeah, you know what? You pay more for less air.
Yeah.
So, okay, what is this, Baker? Like, what's going on? Is this woman held prisoner? Is she an insider? What is this woman's role in relation to Putin?
Yeah, you know what? The Russians are very well versed in disinformation and propaganda, covert action campaigns, and this is a little just kind of a sloppy bit on their part. And maybe, who knows? Maybe she's got the inside track with Vladimir Putin. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, who knows? Maybe he's promised her screen time or, a part in a movie and, the script's not done yet. So, she's filling in. But it's interesting because normally they're not quite they're that obvious. They as we've found out over the years, particularly in social media, while they sometimes can come off as ham-handed or heavy, on this, they usually are, pretty effective and subtle. And so, this is kind of one of those sloppy moments where she pops up in all these various guises, which is entertaining. Look, Putin's in a mess. Putin has really walked himself into a bad situation and refuses to look at alternatives. They talked about Zelensky's offered a peace settlement. Now he said, okay, you have to demilitarize the Ukraine, meaning you got to get your troops out. And, Putin, despite having said in the past that he's willing to talk peace, he and his foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, they've said, absolutely not. We're not going to do it. No, and so there's no real, still at this time, and we're coming up on a year for this conflict.
Yeah.
There's still no apparent potential exit ramp. So, and Putin's, his inventory is low on military hardware, and he's turned to Iran and North Korea, to stock him up. He's become basically a pariah. Now, here's the interesting thing, and this is the part that is really bizarre that people don't talk about. Russia is still a permanent member of the UN Security Council, right? Think about that. 5 permanent members, and Russia continues to be one of them because the UN is so feckless and so useless that they can't figure out how to remove Russia as a member of the Permanent National Security Council for the UN. It's stunning. It is bizarre to think that given Putin's actions and what Russia's been engaged in, that they're allowed to veto major initiatives and actions by the UN.
And even though that's still technically their position, are they allowed to, though? Can't they just override them, even though technically they still have the position?
Yeah. As long as they've got that seat, a permanent seat there, yeah. Just like with China.
Hey, Baker, is there a way between the conflict with Russia and Ukraine, is there a way to make Putin withdraw troops for the war to end, but for him to still save face? Like, is there a way for Putin to think, oh, this is in my best interest? Is there a way to propose an end to this war and like wrap it up or dress it up in a way that makes him still feel like he looks powerful? Clearly, even from this story about the mystery blonde, he cares about appearances, right? Mm-hmm. So clearly that's why he's just not going to throw in the towel after a year. He still wants it to look like he's won in some way. So is there a way to do that?
Well, you would have to come up with a scenario that would be similar to, okay, we're going to go back to pre-war, meaning pre-February of this past year, 2022, lines, right? And maybe work from there. They're not going to give up Crimea.
Yeah.
I just don't see that. I don't see how you get to that. But, could you start from, let's go back to, okay, what were the lines in, pre-February 2022? Now, from Zelensky's point of view, obviously, he looks at it and goes, well, I want everybody out. I want the Russians out of eastern Ukraine. And, that's a really tough negotiation. But would Putin accept something along those lines? Maybe. But as you pointed out, look, he's clearly dug his heels in. He's committed to this conflict, and anything he does in terms of negotiating a peace settlement, if it doesn't look as if on the surface that he's won some important advancement from where they were in February of 2022, then he's going to be getting his ass kicked from the hardliners in Russia, and
which is great. But like, okay, so during our Christmas break, and I love that we're all adults and we are discussing our Christmas break, but there was a rash of oligarchs. I think it was like 5 falling from a window again. Some of them have been on record as being kind of voicing a little bit of dissent with Putin and then backtracking, and others have fallen from a window, and we weren't really aware of what level of dissent they had. What if anything does that tell you? I mean, there's only so many people that are going to be criticizing every move you make that you can kill, I guess. I mean, what if anything did you take away from that?
Well, look at Assad. Assad, in Syria, he did a pretty good job of killing all dissent.
Right.
So Putin, followed that path. He's been consistent, right? Meaning that since February of 2022, when this thing went south, and it was clear the Russians were having problems on every, line here, comms, command and control, hardware, troop morale, strategy, all these issues that they were having. His circle of advisors, has been shrinking. And so he's got a very small and mostly harder line group that he actually keeps around him and listens to. And that's a dangerous thing, right? It's a dangerous thing because it makes it much more difficult to imagine some sort of negotiated settlement. It also makes it difficult from our perspective, right? The smaller that pool of advisors, the tougher it is in terms of gathering intel on plans and intentions. So it's a very difficult situation. But yeah, in a way, I don't want to compare apples and oranges, but you look at the Xi regime in China and what Xi's done in terms of clamping down on dissent and tightening up rules and beefing up security and putting his thumb on any effort to protest. And, Putin's followed the same playbook, which is what you would expect. So, but the problem is, again, where is this going? Right? And nobody really has an answer. In all honesty, there's no serious peace talks going on right now. All the serious discussion is in, making sure that the Ukrainians have enough hardware and support to, continue the fight. And, there is a very large contingent that thinks, if we keep that going, the Ukrainians could actually win, meaning drive the Russians completely out of Ukraine. Again, I'm not sure that that's ever going to happen in Crimea, given the importance of that port to the Russians. But we'll see. It's not I don't think anybody really anticipated this was going to drag on as long as it has. So it's this next year, and certainly the next quarter or two, is going to be fascinating as we come into spring and real fighting picks up again. And there's some heavy fighting going on in the east, in Ukraine, and it continued over the Christmas holidays while we were all celebrating. They've had a hell of a time.
I mean, and a lot of reporters have been saying the same thing about my doggy sitting. They're like, no one has anticipated that it would all of a sudden extend to 2 weeks. And indeed it has.
Yeah.
I think I put up a good fight against them so far. Nobody was betting on me, but I'm still standing.
Bill is the real hero.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's the takeaway from all of this, Joe, is that Bill is the hero here.
Okay, good.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Joe, you don't look supportive in this.
No. You're right, I don't. Hey, you know who else is a real hero? This is a good segue. Get ready for this one.
I don't think it is. No, it's not.
A man with a World War I explosive lodged in his rectum.
Nice.
Ooh.
That's
Nice.
right. He sparked a
Still
bomb
Bill.
scare. Yes, it is Bill. Yeah, it was an anonymous person, but now we're revealing the true identity. A French
Sorry
hospital.
to interrupt, Joe, but Baker, this Lauren's Emmy was in my ass,
Yes.
not the thing. You're confusing two different things.
So sorry. It looks the same to me. A French hospital was partially evacuated now last year. This is an old story. After a senior citizen arrived with a World War I artillery shell lodged in his rectum. The 88-year-old patient visited Hospital Saint-Mousse in Toulon to have the antique explosive removed, but instead sparked a bomb scare. An emergency occurred from 9 to 11:30 p.m. one evening that required the intervention of bomb disposal personnel, the evacuation of adult and pediatric emergencies, as well as the diversion of incoming emergencies. We had to manage the risk in a reactive framework, a representative added. When in doubt, we took all precautions. Now, as soon as disposal experts arrived, they determined there was little possibility the shell would explode inside the man. But get this, it was almost 8 inches long and 2 inches wide. It is believed...
he is a total size queen.
It is believed the pervy patient, how dare you, New York Post, for being so judgy, inserted the item up his anus for sexual pleasure. Medics were forced to take the elderly man into surgery, cutting open his abdomen in order to remove the relic. He is now in good health, expected to make a full recovery from this surgery. Now, Baker, I get it. You turn 88, you're like, nothing thrills me anymore. What can I do? And you might take a World War I relic to the butthole. Am I wrong?
Well, in there.
You know what? Going back to Bill's question about setting goals for 2023, I guess in hindsight, mine would have been not to ever have a story like this on our Thursday segment. But
yes.
you know, I honestly, I missed most of that story while you were reading it because of the graphic where we were getting the details from the New York Post story saying that people in their 20s are most likely to have this problem, and then you know the next group would be those in their early 50s. So that I found, again, hey, information I didn't have going into 2023. So interesting. Yeah. I guess, with this guy, yeah, you're right. 88. No, I can't even go that way. You know what? When I'm 88, I still don't see that happening where you look around the house and you think to yourself, well, what else? No. Do I have anything? Do I have any other items in here? Well, I've got this antique war, memorabilia. Yeah, I don't.
I'll mail you this bad
nothing.
Boy. Yeah. If you're bored, I'll mail you this bad boy. I'll wash it first, and it's
Do you walk around the house just kind of like giving fake acceptance speeches, carrying that?
Oh my God, I so would.
Oh, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's more a Joe thing, but yeah, absolutely.
I mean, talk about visualization.
I don't know how many times I'd be standing there in front of the mirror, just thanking everybody that I know. So.
She's got two. This, as I told Joe earlier, this is sort of the Lauren room. She's got a poster of herself back there, but there's a couple of awards up here that are pretty impressive.
And I think what's more important, though, is who won't you thank? That's what I would be thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is actually always the question, isn't it? Who do you leave off that list? Yeah, well, it's a good question. I'd have to start.
I wonder.
I'd obviously start with my incredible, wonderful wife, and then my kids. I would go with Ken Slotnick, who was head of AGI Entertainment, and my friend and representative. And then I would work my way down the list.
How far down the list are we?
Oh, you were right after Ken.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like the guy that stuck the bomb up his anus is going to be coming before Joe and I on your list? You think? That's what I think is going to happen.
That's why I'm probably winning the award is for this segment.
Yes.
So he has to be thanked. Anyway.
Exactly. All right. Well, on that note, Baker, thank you so much for joining us. 2023 is going to be a great year for you. It's still up in the air for me and Bill. But remind us again all the things we can look forward to seeing and hearing from you.
Obviously, we've got the book being released, Company Rules on Scribd, the Netflix of books. on the 18th of January, and we're still working on Black Files Declassified, trying to figure out what the schedule is going to look like for a third season. And I believe I'm going into production on a movie at the beginning of April now, it looks like, in the
Nice.
southwest of America. And it might involve aliens, not immigrants, actual aliens from
Nice.
out there.
We got
And-
more of a border issue with the immigrant kind, Baker. Come on, help us out.
Well,
Jesus.
I wanted to make it clear what I was referring to, and
No, I know.
yeah, that's it.
Priority.
And then, of course, obviously, for all your information and security needs, it's Portman Square Group. And that's all I got. I really kicked the ass out of the marketing on this one.
Well, Baker, enjoy that fresh powder behind you.
Mm.
Are you going to go skiing or snowboarding or tubing?
Tubing. Yeah, could go tubing. Yeah, no, we ski in the family. I snowboarded for about 10 years, and then my boys got too good at skiing. I couldn't keep up with them on the snowboard, and plus I broke so many ribs on that thing that I thought, you know what, I'll go back to skiing. So we ski, and it's beautiful out here.
Nice. Well, enjoy.
Cool.
Hey, Bill, are you going to do any fresh powder while you're in Palm Springs?
That's why I need to come home.
Yeah.
It's taking its toll. It's taking its toll.